This will be for my curiosity. Theoretically, you can use an auto refraction, get a prescription, and buy glasses. You don't need the optometrist. But I always wondered how accurate I would be with an auto refraction. And here it is.
Refractive error, you'll use the autorefractor, which is located in a room close to the checkout desk near the front of the clinic. This room holds both the autorefractor and the lensometer we use for the whole clinic. Clean the chin and forehead rests with Oxivir wipes in between patients. A power switch is on the side of the autorefractor. The controls to raise and lower the table are shown here. Have the patient place their chin on the chin rest and their forehead all the way against the forehead rest. Adjust the height of the table using the controls on the left side of the table. Adjust the height of the chin rest to align the patient's lateral canthus with the marking on the side of the autorefractor. Do this by spinning the adjustment wheel on the left side of the device. Once the patient is comfortable with the chin rest and table adjustments, ask the patient to look into the device and focus on the image of the house or barn, which is located in the center of the screen. Let the patient know that it's normal for the image to come in and out of focus during the measurement. We record 3 measurements for each eye and then print the refraction. Let's watch an example of how to do this. Okay, I'm going to start with your right eye. Raise my view here by twisting this knob. Adjust the focus by moving forward and backward until I get a clear view. Look at the focus on the barn, the picture of the barn, okay? For large movements, such as changing from one eye to the other, the entire top of the machine shifts left and right. For fine movements, use the joystick. Attempt to center the pupillary light reflex in the center of the square or box. Once centered, press the button on top of the joystick to take a measurement. You can elevate or lower the box using the joystick by turning clockwise or counterclockwise. Once you have 3 good measurements, press the oval button. This will print the refraction readout. Paperclip the printed readout to the patient's chart. There is no place in the patient's chart to record autorefraction. If the patient is a child or of short stature, it may be more comfortable to stand in front of the autorefractor than sitting. If the autorefractor is aligned correctly but does not record a reading after 3 attempts, move on, as inability to get a reading could be due to underlying pathology.
So what do we have here? Okay, that's an auto refractor. Just curious. Music. Okay. For about 300 years, the objective method I'm using, Snellen test lens, was the only way you measured. Objective, you measure yourself. Around 1900, a retinoscope was invented, so they started using a retinoscope, which I feel has questionable accuracy, but it is standard. And if you want to measure a child, you've got to use a retinoscope. If you want to measure yourself, and you're an engineer, you go use the standard objective way, Snellen test lens. So after I talked with Rafelson, I realized it took him 3 months to learn how to do a refraction the objective way. So that's the method I'm using. But you do need test lenses and intelligence, scientific judgment, and motivation. So right after cataract surgery, I started using the objective method, Snellen test lens, and looking for the point of blur or the end of travel an accommodation system, and it was 2060 initially, and I figured it'd just take time. So that's how I measure my refractive state accurately. Notice state, I'm not measuring an error, I'm not measuring its effect, only in the objective state, which is the only thing you can measure objectively. But my curiosity would be to see how I measure on a autorefractor. I don't have the time or money to do it, but I'd be curious to find out. I think the autorefractor takes about 2 minutes. To do a good job takes me probably about 10 minutes till I get all set up. But since I'm reading my Snell in 2020, I have no way of determining how positive my refractive is unless I read the 2020 line through a +1/2 or +1 diopter lens. So the question of my actual refraction is academic for me since I'm 2020. So I really wonder if I had the opportunity to use a autorefractor on myself, what I would measure. Since I'm measuring 2020, I don't bother with cylinder. It's really not necessary as long as you're reading 2020. And I think cylinder vastly overdone and not necessary to measure. So that is where I am now and have been for 15 years. And of course, I'm using a plus lens for all close work. And if you think there's risks, I'm running risks by wearing a plus lens for near, keep my 2020. All I can do is tell you that there's no risk. The risk would be if I didn't measure my own refraction, then I would go down to 2060 or 2080 or so. So it's all personal, all objective, and by me. And I know in talking with Dr. Johnson, the public's not interested. They're absolutely hostile, meaning not interested. So there's nothing Dr. Johnson can do about it. And he knows it, and I know it. So don't worry about it. Add your own commentary, and thank you.